late last week, a Florida jury found Tesla liable to pay $243 million to victims of a fatal 2019 crash involving Tesla's Autopilot driving system. That crash happened in Key Largo when Tesla driver George McGee's Model S sped through an intersection at more than 60 miles an hour, slamming into an SUV, killing one woman and severely injuring another. Now, McGee says he had dropped his cell phone and trusted the car's enhanced autopilot would prevent any crash while he was searching for it. But instead, the vehicle gave no alerts, made no adjustments as that car sped through a stop sign and then a stoplight before ultimately hitting the victim's SUV. Well, Tesla shareholders reacting poorly to Friday's decision, shares falling nearly 2% that day, adding to an already poor year for the EV maker. So I'd like to welcome in now Phil Koopman, Carnegie Mellon professor who has been working on self-driving car safety for almost 30 years. Philip, thank you so much for your time on this. First of all, more than $200 million. What was your reaction to that decision by the jury to hold Tesla liable for so much money?
Well, thanks for having me on. That's a lot of money. I'm an engineer, not a lawyer, so I can't really put it in perspective, but that's a lot of zeros for sure. I think the jury was trying to get Tesla's attention.
Yeah, and do you think that big amount, I mean, nearly $250 million, do you think it was so high due to the fact that we are talking about a company that is owned by the world's richest man?
I don't really get into the financial and jury type thinking since I'm an engineer, but I can put it in perspective with a couple things that are going on. This case is different in two different ways. One is that what we saw is there was someone killed, someone severely injured. They were not inside the car. So Autopilot is beta test software. So whoever is driving Autopilot is testing the software. And you can argue they knew that they were signing up to take the risks. It's an interesting discussion, but it's not relevant here because these are people suing Tesla or their families who did not sign up. They were innocent bystanders who were severely harmed by the use of this technology. So that's one thing. The other thing is, in cases before this, what we've seen is the driver gets blamed. And it's always the driver's fault. They should have known better. They knew what they were doing. They should have. And in this case, what was interesting is the driver was found 2/3 faulty, but Tesla was found 1/3 faulty. And the dynamic here is Tesla has always said, well, it doesn't matter how badly the car behaves. The driver's supposed to deal with it. And this technology, Tesla admitted that they could have made it safer, that there were things they knew they could have done to make it safer, but they chose not to. And if you listen to some of the testimony from the human factors folks, basically the drivers of Autopilot in that era were set up to fail. And so now what we're seeing is a jury saying, no, Tesla shares in the responsibility for putting the drivers in an impossible position. Nobody can really keep control of this for extended periods of time without succumbing to a thing called automation complacency and the ironies of automation. People are just built the way people are built, and you're asking them to do something that nobody can do.
Yeah, and
so that accountability was really interesting.
So you've worked on self-driving car safety for nearly 30 years. So many people
since the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, since the 90s. So many people have reservations when they hear the word, self-driving. Do you think there'll be a time when we see the majority of cars on the road as being self-driving vehicles?
Well, first of all, it depends what you mean by self-driving. Even with the newer technology, because this case was about Autopilot, not full self-driving, with these systems, they're still relying on a human for safety. And most people, when they think of full self-driving or robotaxis, think there's not going to be a person who's responsible for safety. We've seen some of those vehicles deploy. Waymo is the market leader right now for actual robotaxis that still need some help from people, but they're mostly driving themselves. So you can go ride in a robotaxi with no driver in it today if you want to, if you get in a Waymo. There's some other companies working on this too. I know Tesla's out in Austin, but they have some people still supporting the real-time safety. I think it's going to be a decades-long slog before that becomes the dominant technology. So we're sort of nearing the end of the beginning, but we're not at the beginning of the end.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.